Hi guys, today I have another sketchbook tour. I actually haven't finished editing my last sketchbook tour, so you may be getting two in quick succession. My last one took me a whole year to complete. This one actually took me only 4 months, but that's mostly because of Inktober, so all of those drawings are in here. I use a slightly different sketchbook this time. This is a Mossery, but I am going back to the Inktober ones for my next sketchbook, which is the same brand I used last time, which I do have my own grievances with, but I still enjoyed using it, so I'm going to go back to that. But yeah, I thought I'd give you a little look into this one now that I've finished it, so let's jump into it. So this is my sketchbook that I've just finished. It's a Mossery mixed media sketchbook. I haven't used one of these before. I wasn't sponsored. I did just want to make that clear. I know that they sponsor a lot of people to use their sketchbooks, but I did buy this myself. I just wanted to try it out. It is a really nice sketchbook, but the trouble that I had with it is just the fact that it's spiral bound, and I used a Inktober before that, so I'm used to being able to draw directly across the page, and I have gone back to Inktober because I just prefer being able to do that. I didn't think that would be as big a deal as it was when I started using it, but I really love the cover. I think this was a special edition they did pairing up with an illustrator. So it has quite a few pockets in these sketchbooks, and then it starts with, this is like regular paper, and it just starts out with a little section. I'm not really sure why, but I used it up anyway. Just, this is supposed to be values, beliefs. I just put a quote there that I like, Stephen King. The most important things are the hardest things to say. They're the things you get ashamed of because words diminish them. Words shrink things that seem limitless when they were in your head to no more than living size when they're brought out. But it's more than that, isn't it? The most important things lie too close to wherever your secret heart is buried, like landmarks to a treasure your enemies would love to steal away. And you may make revelations that cost you dearly, only to have people look at you in a funny way, not understanding what you said at all or why you thought it so important that you almost cried while you were saying it. That's the worst, I think, when the secret stays locked within, not for want of a teller, but for want of an understanding ear. I really love that quote. It's from The Body. It was made into a film that was called Stand By Me, and yeah, I just always love that quote. I put it on quite a lot of things just because I think a lot of people could probably relate to that. I didn't do anything with these. It's supposed to be an inspiration board. I didn't really know what to do. It says to write, draw, paste, but I do that kind of thing throughout my sketchbook, so these were kind of a bit of a waste of time. And then 3 things I want to improve, change or achieve. I kind of split that up into sections, and they're not just all art related, they're just kind of general. The first one was complete a sketchbook in under a year, and I definitely did that because this one took me 4 months, and it mostly took me 4 months just because I was so eager to get it completed because I had issues with the spiral, and I knew that if I wasn't happy with my sketchbook, then that could either go in one of 2 directions, where I wouldn't use my sketchbook because I wasn't enjoying it, or I could just rush through it and get it all done as soon as possible. So I chose the latter. I've been learning Danish, and this was one of the things that came up on Duolingo, and I just thought it was funny of a spider and bear having a drink. Like I explained in my last sketchbook, I do not only use my sketchbooks as sketchbooks, I like to use them as sort of memory makers and put things that are important, or even just sort of silly little things as well, or things that I find inspiring. I just find it kind of helps me keep my sketchbook as a kind of timeline, and so it gives the drawings around it, for me, some kind of context, because I can think about where I was at that point in my life and kind of things like that. This was for 20th of July. This was Alice Fern and Sophie Evans' last performance in Wicked. They were my favourites, so I wanted to see that. I was really struggling to know what to do with this sketchbook because I kind of figured out just doing that I was really feeling limited. It's like when you've got a spiral there for me, because it divides the page up, so I really feel limited into this A5 size paper. Whereas when I don't have a spiral and I can draw straight across the page, I effectively have a landscape piece of A4 instead of a portrait A5, if that makes sense. And that was my issue with this sketchbook, just that I felt so limited by that A5 format when I'm used to being able to draw landscape. This is really good paper though, and it's mixed media, but it took my watercolours really well. This was just, like I say, me trying to find my feet. I did a couple of thumbnails, a to-do list. These are, I printed these off in tracing paper. Obviously the tracing paper didn't take too well, but I was trying to come up with a kind of background for them because these are digital. So I wanted a background for them. I wanted to get some proper prints onto like a watercolour paper that would just not make it look traditional, but it just wouldn't be such like a harsh border around digital work and things like that. I wanted it to have a bit more tactile feeling, so I painted that in watercolour and stuck that over the top just to see what it would look like. I did that with each of them. I did actually get these printed up. I'll insert a picture, and they're going to be in my Etsy shop. I only have one of each because it was an experiment, but I'm going to list them as like a limited thing. I just really liked the print of that. This is currently in Moulin Rouge as sateen because this was shortly before I was due to go to New York, and the whole reason of going to New York was to see Moulin Rouge on Broadway. It's one of my favourite movies, and it was starring one of my favourite actors, Aaron Tveit, and I just really wanted to go see it, and I've never been to New York before, so it was like a really huge deal for me to do that. And here it is, all of obviously stuff there. It was mostly for Broadway that I went to New York, so that was like my focus of the trip. I did obviously do other stuff while I was there, but I went to see Wicked because obviously it's my favourite musical, and the Gershwin is where it opened, so it kind of felt important for me to sort of see it where it started. I went to see Moulin Rouge twice. I met Aaron Tveit. I actually gave him my drawing that was in my last sketchbook tour, and he really liked it. So yeah, this was something that's really special. I actually got this bangle while I was there as well, and yeah, this was just incredible performance. And then I saw Frozen because it's my favourite Disney movie, and it's due to open in London in late 2020, I think it's September or something, and I won't actually be in the UK then, so I thought this will probably be my only chance to see it, especially as it still had kind of half of the original Broadway cast as well. It still had Patty and Casey in it. So this, I was really kind of, you can probably tell that I was sort of stuck with the sketchbook for that point, and this was when I really started to speed up. This was after I got back from New York. I had taken a couple of weeks out, and so I decided to do in September this challenge that was on Instagram. It was a tag challenge, and you do one drawing a week based on the tag, and I just thought that seems something to just kind of ease me back into things. It was Harvest Tales, and that's kind of right up my street as well because I love autumn and harvest and spooky stuff and all of that kind of imagery, and I mostly based it around the idea of a scarecrow because I wanted it to have some kind of narrative to it. So this was for the prompt Flowers and Herbs. I considered doing a calendar, but I didn't end up doing it. These were all of the prompts. So it's flowers and herbs, scarecrow, night creature, and spirits. I went to the cinema a couple of times. So this was the night creature. I was just kind of in the Halloween mood, although it was September, and just wanted to just give it something of that ilk, you know. This one was also a bit inspired by Drawing with Waffles because she did a video around that time where she drew with a coloured ballpoint pen, and then she used light tones of Copic markers to shade it, and I really liked that, so I decided to use that method here. I've really wanted to get into sketching with a ballpoint pen that didn't have like a pencil under sketch, that was just purely the ballpoint pen. So that's what these were. They're just reference images from Pinterest. This was the last prompt. You can probably tell that I actually skipped the scarecrow one just because I didn't really know what to do for it, as my character was a scarecrow, and that wasn't deliberate. It was just kind of poor planning on my part really, but I didn't know what to do, so I just included the pumpkin again. It doesn't really have a narrative, but I tried to kind of include elements to sort of, hopefully people might be able to make up their own narrative about it or something. And I used the same method again, where this is a purple ballpoint pen, and then I just used purple Copics with a little bit of yellow just to bring out some highlights and make it a bit more magical, as it's supposed to be spirits. So I've actually got these wood things, and I'm trying to come up with some ideas of things to paint onto them, so that was just a bit of thumbnailing. I've been learning the acrylic alphabet, so that was what that was, just trying to recognise how it's all pronounced. And then for the first time ever, I decided to do Inktober this year because I thought I was kind of feeling a bit rusty with my drawing, and also, like I say, I wanted to get the sketchbook done as quickly as possible. So I thought if I do Inktober, that's like 30 pages of my sketchbook, and I just thought it'd be really good for me to get into that practice of drawing every day and just see kind of what I get out of it. It wasn't something that I did to share. I wrote a whole blog post about this, which I will link to in the corner, but I do have some negative feelings about Inktober and just how performative driven it's gotten, where I just think it's become something really disingenuous, where people pre-prepare their drawings like a month in advance instead of following the format of drawing every single day, and then it kind of makes people feel rubbish because their drawing isn't as good as the pre-prepared one. And I just don't like all of that, so I didn't want to introduce any of that to my art, so I literally drew every single one on the day. If I couldn't do it, then I just skipped that day. I was literally just doing this for me, not for any performance or anything. I posted a couple of them on Instagram, but not all of them. It was just that freedom to post as and when I wanted. So this one was for the prompt ring. It's supposed to be like a fairy ring of mushrooms. It was all I could think of. It's not very good because it's rushed and I wasn't really sure what I was doing at this point. I wanted to stick to ballpoint pen because I'd enjoyed using it so much previously, and then I just put a wash of ink on it, which didn't work too well with this sketchbook because it soaked through the page, so I actually used some watered down gouache to get the same effect on later pages. But I do think with Inktober, like, it shouldn't be about the final result, it should just be more the fact that you're giving it a go and you're taking part. So this was for the prompt mindless. It's supposed to be Fiyero as a scarecrow, so that's where he's put up in the sunflower field. And obviously mindless made me think of Fiyero because I'm wicked trash. This isn't really anything, it's not even in ink. It was just a doodle that I had the song Nelly the Elephant stuck in my head. So I just drew that. I quite like it. I might colour it on my iPad one day. But I didn't necessarily want to stick to the prompts every single day because I thought some of them are just going to stump me and then I won't want to do it. So I wasn't strictly sticking to the prompt list, it was just there for me to fall back on if I couldn't think of something to illustrate for that day. But I did try to stick to ink for most of it, but this one was an exception. I just really like that photo. I don't think this scene in Wicked is photographed enough. So this was me watching Big Sky. I did a ballpoint portrait of the character Pruitt and some sketches of him as well, which again aren't in ink, but it doesn't really matter. I've really been practicing my ballpoint portraits and I really like how they're coming out for the most part. They're not perfect, but that's kind of what I like, that it forces me to work with my mistake because it's ink. And I really like the textures it gives as well. I don't know if you can see, but I did actually go wrong. I don't know if you can see on his top there. It's a slightly different colour and that's because I messed up the stripes, so I just stuck a piece of paper over it. Yeah, so although it may look good, I do end up making mistakes as well, just learning how to cover them. Freeze, obviously I had to draw Elsa for that. Enchanted, this was supposed to be a witch, but I didn't want to fall into that, you know, like an ugly old woman. I wanted to draw her kind of just young and more like an enchantress, I suppose. I did do another sketch in a different sketchbook because I wanted some larger paper, so that's just a note for that. And this wasn't originally supposed to be across the page, but I thought I would make it so when I got the idea to do this. So this was for the prompt word snow, and it's inspired by the original story of the Snow Queen where Gerda rides the reindeer. Dragon, this is the time dragon from Wicked. Overgrown, so I was thinking of Alice in Wonderland and when she's in the garden with all of the huge plants. I really don't like this drawing, but it's there, it's what I did for that prompt. And this was, okay, so before this it's all been Wicked, and from here on out it's going to mostly be Joker, just to pre-warn you. I'm obsessed with that film, I really, really love it. I've seen it 8 times at the cinema, and I'm not normally the type of person to go to the cinema more than once. I just absolutely love it. I think it handles a lot of themes surrounding things like mental illness and disability really, really well. And I've been a Batman fan since I was about 12 or so, and I just really love what they've done with this character of Joker, who hasn't previously been one of my favourites. I really liked Heath Ledger's portrayal, but in a lot of comic books and stuff, I just find him a bit too, it sounds silly, but I find him a bit too cartoonish. Like, he's not anything that it could sort of relate to or anything, and so I just really liked how real they made him and Arthur Fleck. So I did do quite a lot of work based on him. So this is obviously Arthur Fleck, that's him dressed as Joker. Did another ballpoint portrait. I think this is actually one of my best ballpoint portraits. I really like how this one came out. I think I got the tones quite well. I didn't know what to do for this day, so this is just a picture from Pinterest. I really like looking at like vintage ballet dancers and stuff. Treasure, I just did a pirate. Ghost, that was fairly obvious. When I went to New York on the flight back, I stopped over in Oslo, and so I got some sweets and stuff that there. Just a pencil sketch, which I included for Inktober, even though it's not ink. I don't really like this, but I was just trying to play with style a bit, and I wanted sort of a sense of realism, but in a kind of stylized way. I don't think it worked, but there it is. Style I'm much more comfortable with, and I was just trying to draw him in more of a kind of comic book style. This kind of ha 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 background is really common in Batman comics with the Joker. This is all pencil again, but it's just an original character of mine, and I just did a scarecrow again. I don't think this was a prompt, I don't have it written down, but it was still an Inktober drawing. All of the green is just my Prismacolor Coral Rays. I prefer drawing with these and then going over with either pencil or pen. As you can probably tell, I'm kind of a messy sketcher, so if it's in a different colour it just allows me to be able to see a bit better. So I went to a Halloween concert with West End performers in it. It had John Owen Jones, Carrie Hope Fletcher and a whole bunch of other people. This was just October and kind of autumnal drawings. That's October in Russian, I believe. Went to see Joker again, so these are some more pictures of him. This is the bathroom dance. I think this was another Pinterest drawing as well, and this was just... I think this is Copic markers, so it is technically fitting for Inktober. It's ink. Dancing with the character of Sophie. I don't particularly like this one. Inktober had finished, that was the last Inktober drawing, and I was just still playing around. I think this was like a week after Inktober finished, like I took a bit of a break and then I was just trying to warm back up again. Then I went to Disneyland Paris, and these are just, as I say, memories of it all. I haven't been to a Disney park in a couple of years, and I used to be an annual pass holder, so it meant a lot to go back. I don't collect autographs, but the Mad Hatter just reached in his pocket and gave me that, so I thought I'd stick that in. I went to see Joker while I was in Disneyland Paris as well, and it was all in French, and I do not speak French, but I still enjoyed it. This was, they're inspired by Homer Conant, is that how you say that? I think that was just another Pinterest thing. Just some hand studies. I think at this point I was just in a hurry to kind of get the sketchbook filled, so I just wanted to shove anything in it just so that I could get it done and then start my next one. Joker again, and then this was some pig studies, because for quite a long time now I've wanted to do a kind of, I don't know if graphic novel would be the right way, or just an illustrated book of Animal Farm. I really love Animal Farm, and I just really want to do something with it. So I was just studying pigs, obviously they're important characters, and I really liked how some of these came out. I gave them, because I always draw this kind of eye shape, and I liked how shifty it made the pigs looking, and then I thought, well, that would be a good Napoleon, that looks like Squealer, and yeah, just playing around there. I don't know if these will be finalised or anything, but I did quite like how they came out. I think these are all more Pinterest images. Like I say, I'm just trying to fill up the sketchbook at this point. I did this, I think I was watching Dirty Dancing, which is why she's got her hair like that, and I was just practicing kind of, that's how I was sitting at my desk, and that's generally just holding my chin. I know it's a bad habit, but I can't help it. So I was just kind of exploring that and just doodling really. And then this is Snow White and her Prince. I just think they're an underrated Disney couple. I've been reading one of those Disney Twisted Tales books as well, and it's kind of nice. It gives the prince a bit more of a starring role. Also, I was reading about how the prince, you know, his original role in the story and effectively his storyline got cut way out because the Disney animators realised that they couldn't draw men very well. So that's why he doesn't actually have much of a part in Snow White, but I really like him as a character. He was originally written to be more like Prince Philip, and his storyline was essentially given to Prince Philip in Sleeping Beauty, so I think they're underrated. And then just some more hand studies. This is going back to the Animal Farm. I made a list of all of the animals here. So I've got some sheep. I put adult sheep are very boxy, lambs are very arched with long legs. And this is why I hate the spiral. I had to cut off his face. Also, horses are hard to draw, as are dogs. That is the derpiest looking thing ever. That one's not too bad. I really like that one. The breed of dog isn't mentioned in Animal Farms, so I looked up what dogs are used on farms and stuff, and it listed a German Shepherd. So I thought that might be a good one to have because it's a herding dog, but obviously in terms of the book, they're also supposed to be more of like a guard dog, so I went with a German Shepherd. That's the raven and some chickens, a cow, and just cats. Again, just more Animal Farm stuff. This was just, I just wanted to get the sketchbook done with. I just only had a couple of pages left. So these are just pictures from Pinterest. I really like drawing ballerinas. If you want to get better at anatomy, look at ballerinas. They're really good to draw because they contort themselves into all different shapes. So if you can draw a ballerina, you can kind of draw any position. And I think that's it. Yeah, I've just got that on the last page, which is just a label that came with something and then a stamp of the day that I finished it. And then in the back pocket here, I've just got some more sweets that I got when I was in Oslo. And that's Cath Kidston label, another ticket for Joker. I think that came with the sketchbook. And then I've just got some postcards for E.H. Shepherd that I got at the V&A, and I wasn't sure what to do with them yet. So they're just there. And yeah, that's the whole sketchbook. So I finished it on the 18th of November and I started it on the 18th of July, so that's exactly 4 months that it took me to do this. Like I say, it's just that I really wanted to get it done as soon as possible because I wasn't happy working in it just with the spiral. But at least I've given it a go now, and from that, you know, I know not to buy one of those ever again. Although I'm not kind of thrilled with this sketchbook as a whole, just because to me I can sense that I was rushing it and there are more things in it that I'm not particularly keen on. And I think as well because it was like Inktober, so all my work feels a bit less personal than it does in my previous sketchbook, but I'm still proud of myself that I managed to do it in such a short space of time. If you watched my last video, you'll know that my last sketchbook took me a whole year to complete, so I feel like that's a big improvement, and hopefully I can kind of, with my next sketchbook, just find a bit of a middle ground where it's not too rushed, but it didn't take me quite that long either. So I hope that you guys enjoyed looking through my sketchbook with me, and mostly my Inktober work, and I'll see you in my next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.